All right, guys, so let's do the last video of today, where we're going to start looking at after Lysias's speech. So we're now on page 4, and I don't know how you feel about it, but there's like 23 and a half pages to this book, and we are currently on page 4. So we got 19 pages to go. We're going to be fine. So Lysias has finished the speech by Phaedrus has finished reading to Socrates the speech by Lysias. By the way, not a lot of characters coming. Don't worry. There's not like 15 other guys with speeches in here. Lysias reads a speech. Phaedrus reads a speech by Lysias to Socrates. Then Socrates gives a speech, and then Socrates gives another massive speech, and then him and Phaedrus sit around. I'm never going to get these names straight. And then him and Phaedrus sit around and talk about speeches in general. That's it. There's no characters. Nothing else happens. It's pretty straightforward. So don't get stressed about dozens of people you have to remember. And by the way, you're never really being tested on Plato. There's no quizzes coming up about Plato. It's really it's just an example. It's just what you're practicing on. I could have picked something else and we could be practicing on that. But instead, we're practicing on this because I only teach books that I really like. And I actually like this one. So let's see what Socrates has to say about this. Lysias' speech is now over. And and Phaedrus says, "Now, Socrates, what do you think? Is this discourse, meaning the words, not excellent, especially in the matter of language?" And Socrates says, "Yes, quite admirable." So Socrates is excited about it. Now, I'll let you in a little secret. Socrates is kidding. He's fucking with him a little bit. Socrates is being sarcastic, a little bit. Sarcastic is too strong, but he's being ironic. He's not really. Socrates is going to pretend he likes this speech, but he's trying to teach Phaedrus a lesson. And part of that lesson, so Phaedrus says, "Oh boy, I sure love this thing," and Socrates says, "Oh yeah, it's pretty great. Let's look at it some more." But he's really doing that because he wants to show that it's not great. But he'll get to that eventually. But Socrates says here, Socrates is a tricky guy. So Socrates says, "Yes, quite admirable. The effect on me was ravishing." Ravishing is one of those. This is one of those moments in the semester where I like to stop, talk about where words come from. Ravishing means to take away by force. To take away by force. The word goes back to kind of thing you picture like in English, the word goes back to kind of like Vikings. You think about like Vikings on ships going in and raiding some village by the water, and they go in there and they steal stuff. They steal treasure and they steal food, and they ravishings. They ravish the village, meaning they take things away in the village by force. One of the things they would ravish, though, also would be women. And so the word ravish has another meaning, which is to ravish a person is to sexually assault them, because you have taken that person away by force. Now, some of you who have a pretty good vocabulary are starting to see something funny here, which is that you may have heard the word ravishing used to mean you look very beautiful. You look ravishing tonight, my darling. It is not an unrelated word. If you look it up in a regular dictionary, it'll give you the multiple definitions, but it's worth it to stop and again look at the etymology, look at the word history, to think about why does it mean that. The word ravishing means very beautiful because it means you're so beautiful, you have taken control of me by force. You've taken me by, I'm being ravished. You're ravishing. I'm being ravished, looking at you. Not being raped there, but because again, ravish originally meant to take by force. One of the meanings it has in modern day society is to take a person by force and rape them, to sexually assault them. But to say that you look ravishing means you look so beautiful I can't control myself. So if I came to this party with a date and you look so beautiful, I'm going to ditch my date and be in love with you. So it's one of those. It's just one of these things that like it helps. You can make sense. It's not just about a list of vocabulary words for you to memorize, but just to think about how words work and what they do. So Socrates says that he found the speech ravishing, meaning it was so good that it took him away by force. The effect on me was quite ravishing. He feels like Lysias' speech was so good, and again, he's kidding, but he says the speech was so good he feels taken away, like he's been forced to agree. He's been forced to disagree with his own opinions. This is something that they're going to get into later, which is the power of words to change who you are. School is based off this principle. The entire concept of giving young people stacks of books, which are filled with words, and having them listen to professors talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. The idea is that these words have the power to change you, to take you away from who you are and make you into a different kind of person. Um, but you can see how you could use that for evil. Like, in a college setting, you're using words to change people. But you can see how it's very similar to what like a cult leader would do. For Socrates, Lysias is such a good arguer, although he'll have some complaints later, but he's kidding now. But for Socrates is saying, like, this speech is so good, it's taking me away from myself, but maybe in a bad way. Like maybe it's making him sort of think thoughts that he shouldn't be thinking, and this is actually a bad form of education. So let's see what else Socrates has to say. And this I owe you, Phaedrus, for I observed you a while reading to be in ecstasy, meaning you also seemed, ecstasy is like when you're living in a total other world. Ecstasy is the name of a drug that makes you feel like you're not in your own body anymore. And so ecstasy is to be like your mind is floated away from your body. So he says, Phaedrus, I observed you while reading to be in an ecstasy. So Socrates says, these words are so powerful, they took me away from myself. And they also, Phaedrus, seem to be taking you away from yourself. And thinking that you are more experienced in these matters than I am, I followed your example. And like you, my divine darling, I became inspired with a frenzy. Don't let the spelling throw you off here. That's just F-R-E-N-Z-Y. It's a British spelling. Frenzy, craziness. So he says, this speech, when you were reading it, you seemed like you were in a whole other world, taken away from yourself. And he says, I feel like I've been taken away from myself by these beautiful, powerful words. And Phaedrus has a hunch that Socrates is kidding. Indeed, you are pleased to be merry, meaning I think you're joking around. Do you mean that I am not in earnest? Meaning you don't think I'm serious? He says, now don't talk that way, Socrates. Let me have your real opinion. I adjure you by Zeus, meaning I demand by the name of the gods, the god of friendship, to tell me whether you think that any Hellene, that's just like a person in ancient Greece, don't worry about that, could have said more or spoken better on the same subject. So he says, Zeus is the god of friendship, and I want you to swear on Zeus. Don't you think nobody could do a better job than Lysias did on this? Interesting, by the way, that Phaedrus says Zeus, god of friendship, because, of course, the whole subject of the speech has been how important friendship is. Notice that there's an echo. How do I put this? Lysias just had a whole speech on how important friendship is. Socrates and Phaedrus seem to have a friendship. And so Phaedrus says, swear by Zeus, the god of friendship, that you're not just fucking with me on here, that you're serious and you really like this, because he's concerned that Socrates doesn't like it. And he wants a truthful answer. Once again, also, in Socrates' joking, you can see the center issue in this book, which is, can words be trusted? Right? So he says, I want you to promise me that you say you like this speech, but I don't know if I believe you. You gotta be serious. I don't know if you're really serious about this. Well, Lysias said a bunch of stuff about how marrying someone that you're just friends with is better than marrying someone you're in love with. Was he serious? Did he seriously mean that? Was he just showing off his own cleverness, or does he really believe that? Same thing with Socrates. Is he just saying nice things about Lysias because he knows it'll make Phaedrus happy, or does he really mean it? So this issue comes up again and again and again, which is, can words, and stories, and language be trusted? You'll remember a couple of classes back, Socrates was talking about mythology and how people had all these crazy myths about the gods, and the god of the winds came down and stole this girl. And is that true? Or you think she just fell off a cliff? And he says, I have no idea. And he says, I don't know. That's too complicated for me. He's skeptical. He's not sure. So again and again, this book comes back to the question of, can words be trusted? Do they reflect the truth? Does Lysias really mean what he says? And do they get at the truth? Is Lysias's point about friendship versus love correct? We're not sure right now. But Socrates and Phaedrus are trying to figure out the value of words. So I hope you're seeing this isn't just a bunch of random sentences and random topics. This all kind of comes together to form like a bigger picture. So, okay, I think we're wrapped up for class today, and that was day 6. So thanks for joining me, and I've given you some questions to think about, and you can think about those questions, including, is a hamburger a sandwich? And you can discuss that on the discussion board. And I will see you guys in the next class, where I will be wearing a completely different shirt. Okay.